This is an interview with Laurie Szott-Rogers of Self-Heal Distributing and Northern Star College of Mystical Studies. I met Laurie and her husband many years ago when I took their aromatherapy course. And even back then, what I was really struck with is Laurie has this gentle and loving spirit, and it is very clear that she is one who is connected with nature. I even think that when you look at her beautiful face, there is some elf-like, some fairy-like features. And so in this interview, she talks not only of her wonderful work and offerings, all these wonderful essential oils and flower essences and how that came to be, but she also does this goddess archetype work. And she goes into some detail about that, so I think you'll get some gems of information. And the other thing that she talks about is about how to attune to nature to get messages, and she offers her wisdom on that. So this is someone I really admire and love, and I hope you enjoy the interview.
My name is Laurie Szott-Rogers, and I'm happy to be here speaking with Kim. I am part owner of Self-Heal Distributing and Sense of Wonder, an essential oil and flower essence company that's been in Edmonton and throughout Alberta and Canada for over 20 years. I'm also part owner of Northern Star College of Mystical Studies.
Wow. So let's focus on the self-heal distributing and things, and then Northern Star. But how did you get into all of this? How did your heart lead you down this path?
Well, as a child, I was always very interested in metaphysics. As soon as I heard about astrology, I became obsessed, and I learned the signs of everyone in my school. Then, when I was in my teens, I learned about herbology and started identifying simple plants around our area and how to use them. I lived in a small town in Alberta, so I was a little bit isolated in my interests, but by no means suppressed. And then I didn't think of doing those things for a career because there were no jobs in those fields, but I started in the government with a career in social sciences. I researched in those areas and did product or idea development and planning and research assistant type jobs in the government at that time. And I eventually met Robert, and he was teaching herbology. I took his course and all of a sudden rekindled my interest in herbology. We also got married around that time, and he had a little bit of a store, but it wasn't very organized. And so I took my meager pension from the government in my early 30s and invested it in his store and organized it and created Self-Heal Herbal Center with him.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was sort of fun. And I learned a lot about aromatherapy at that time and took my skills as an idea developer from the government and started creating products for our store that gave the stores a bit of a unique edge. Now, they weren't really sophisticated products, but they were bath salts and massage oils and essential oil blends that were able to flavor the store in a very, in a way that differentiated it.
Wow. So I know it's through the aromatherapy is when I met you, and it initially you had the Prairie David College. So how did it kind of transform into, I'm assuming the Northern Star College transformed out of that?
Right. Well, but first of all, you brought up a really important step, the Prairie Diva College. We had a community of fabulous customers who were always hungry for information. Mm-hmm. They were always enthusiastic, and part really of the reason we developed the Prairie Diva College to begin with, because we needed to satisfy their curiosity for information. We sold product like essential oils and gave them the building blocks to create much on their own, such as essential oil blends and using the oils in their own homes and practices. So I was always inspired and turned on by what they wanted. And then Robert and I put together courses that satisfied the needs of our customers. So that was the first step with Prairie Diva College.
Wow.
Integrating what existed with nature and the nature spirits and being very attuned to them, and creating information for the customers and clients that they could use. They were small courses, and it was those small courses that gave us the hunger to work with students in a deeper way, giving programs that would leave students in a very self-sufficient way, and thus the Northern Star College of Mystical Studies developed. But first we needed to solidify with two partners, Skye McLaughlin, who does feng shui now at the college, and tarot, and Catherine Potter, who is a master of astrology and hypnosis. And those are what she brings to Northern Star.
Wow.
Again, we have so many people that populate this planet that have the blood, the old lineage of alchemy running through their veins. And it is this blood that we tap into when we created the Earth Spirit Medicine lineage in Northern Star College. So this allows us to teach courses like Robert teaches anatomy and nutrition, herbal medicine. We teach aromatherapy together, flower essences. I teach the Neo-Shamanic work there. Also, we have another realm called Intuitive Studies, where I teach goddess work and dream work.
Wow.
So it's been students that are attracted, like we are, into learning these modalities in great depth, attuning themselves and attuning to the various energies that exemplify the goddess work. We learn to attune to the goddess energies, the dream energies, the plant spirits, the nature spirits, and learn how to represent those energies in a bigger way. Also at the school we teach very practical courses as well. With the aromatherapy, we teach what the oils are, how they're used, the cautions, but then we also learn how to blend the oils. And when you get hundreds of oils and then can blend, what you can create is endless, because it's just so magnified with the blends that are there. We teach how to we teach our students how to attune to then create products that they might like. That ranges from wildcrafting, if they have farms or acreages or can wildcraft. It means they can steam distill and bring oils that are specific to Alberta out into the marketplace. Wow. Some of our students do things like make soaps. We don't actually teach that, but they apply the skills that we do teach into then creating that kind of product. And yes, some of it is just attuning to the nature energies, everything from the waters and the trees and the flowers, to learn what those spirits need in order to survive in this day and age. It's a bit of ecofeminism that goes on, really. We don't call it that, but we do, through our dreams, through different kinds of journeys and attunements, get our own take on what these energies, these spirits are asking us to do. And I use that word in a way, everyone can attribute it whatever they mean, because everyone gets their own messages. It's not just a select few, but everyone who is part of the world is a part of nature and may attune to the spirits of nature.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a perfect balance of the practical and the spiritual, so that it seems to really draw upon that ancient wisdom within all of us that maybe has been forgotten.
Absolutely. And I think you will agree with me that this time, more than any time, Mother Nature's just challenged because of the pesticides, the growth of the city, the way we're used to tromping on her. And she's forgiving and loving and amazing, but we also have to use some of our wisdom to now care for her, care for the plants, care for the energies out there that are putting so much of what they have into keeping balance. We need to help retip the scales in a positive way.
Wow. Can we talk about attuning to the nature and her beings? What sparked that in you, like, to connect in that way?
Well, I guess the archetypal energies are what I find most fascinating. And when I say that, again, first of all, what I mean when I speak of goddesses and nature is that through many techniques, we can use the senses that we have to interpret some of the messages that are coming across through nature. I like to use techniques such as Dreamwork. We use it very much in our college to interpret personal dreams. And it's like a nightly oracle that comes to tell us what to do and how to best use our soul energies to be who we are meant to be on the planet, so that we don't feel frustrated and that the planet gets the best of us. Yeah. But also to use in dream state when a plant or a tree or a stream of water or even a house comes through telling you about what its needs are, to take that seriously as well. If the water is saying, I am polluted and please help, you are the ears and the voice for that water, because it doesn't have any other. So it's giving, along with a lot of privilege, a lot of responsibility. Wow. Same with the plant. When it's needing your help and coming in dream state, it might be telling you you can use some of its energy if it's a flower like a violet or a crocus, but it also might ask you to be tending to that violet or that crocus patch that's close to you and ensure that its survival is happening. So that is one method. Dreams, they are to be taken seriously. They're amazing oracles. Yeah. Another type of attunement is one I've learned from a fabulous mentor named Dorothy McLean. Now, she would be dear to your heart, Kim, because she's one of the founders of Findhorn. Mm-hmm. And I was privileged enough to study with her for a short period of time, and also been able to read some of her books and teach some of her work. She is an energy that showed me extreme patience. She works with the nature deities by opening her heart. She becomes very quiet and opens her heart to a feeling of extreme love. She brings in that extreme love and then attunes to anything else in nature. It can be rats or rabbits or bugs or plants, and she looks for the deity, the diva of that energy to come forward and represent all of that particular kingdom. So if it's the kingdom of elm trees, the elm, the diva of elms will come forward, and you can attune to that. And by patiently writing and listening and recording without judgment what that energy is telling you, you can open a conversation. Dorothy has been able to make, at one time, was able to make magnificent changes within Findhorn to grow bigger vegetables, to get bugs and rodents to change their path, to not eat what was used by most of Findhorn. But she also gave them something. It was not through extermination. It was through working with those kingdoms and redirecting them a little bit, opening the lines of communication. So those are the sorts of techniques I like and teach, but also through Neo-Shamanic journeying, which is another technique of getting into a relaxed state, something kind of akin to meditation, and journeying to the underworld through the sounds of drum beats, which is like an amplified heartbeat that we tend to relate really well to. We're able to modify our consciousness enough just to, again, attune to energies. In this way, we breathe deeply, lie down, usually go through a tunnel such as a tree trunk, something like that, and end up in what is called the underworld, which is a really rich world of plants and animals. And it is through this world that we can also get messages as well. There are so many ways of attuning. There's praying for people who pray. There's meditating for people who meditate. It's really whatever way you enjoy, but to do it, and to do it consistently, and to not second guess yourself, and to record the messages, and then mostly act on them.
Wow. That's incredible, Laurie. And I didn't know that you studied with Dorothy McLean, so wow. Yes, Findhorn is a place dear to my heart for sure.
Absolutely. Well, the amazing work you've done that way. But I think what these methods all teach us is that we have teachers in daytime life, which are very valuable, and I encourage you to run toward those teachers, don't walk, but also to attune and learn your own wisdom within your own intuition when that's opened, and to also know that there are teachers in the plant world, there are teachers in the goddess realm, there are teachers in your dream state. So those are all mediums that you need, that I love to learn from. I love to encourage others to learn from, and to not, again, second doubt the messages coming through, but not also to think that you're the only person on the planet, or I'm the only person on the planet who can get these messages, but just to know that they have messages for all of us. And we're all the high priestesses and the messengers from these realms.
Wow. Can we talk a little bit about flower essences? Because that's another subtle level with lots of messages for all of us, I would imagine. So could you tell us about your flower essence work?
Absolutely. One of the realms of nature which I'm so attracted to, and I know so many people are flowers. We all bring them into our lives. And since historical times, flowers have always given us messages. We're delivered bouquets to mean certain things. You give red roses to the one that's most special to your heart. Whereas maybe something like a pink flower when you're showing some interest. So they've always given messages. Dr. Bach was one of the first Caucasian healers to bring flower essences into North America. He brought them to England over 100 years ago. He was a doctor who felt that behind every illness was a deeper message. And that message was that we were a little off track on our soul purpose. The message came as a gift, the disease came as a gift to slow us down for a little while and help us realign with what our true purpose was. And so in flower essences, we use many of the techniques that he first instilled. You can find many types of flower essences on the market. We use them as little oral elixirs that are taken under the tongue. They're thought to realign the subtle energies in us and help us get back on track. Each of the flower essences have a little bit of a different way of aligning us. So they all have their own message. But every individual will react differently with them. Now this is subtle energy, so you're not going to use this in the same way that you would use pills, for example. They work best if we align our intention at the same time and remind ourselves why we're taking them. They can cause some distress as they're going through our systems because we don't all like being put back on track. It's like stopping a bad habit, like stopping smoking or coffee or beer or something like that, which we always have a little resistance when we're going through it. The same with some of these emotional patterns. We've developed them for certain reasons. So Robert and I have a type of flower essence that comes right from the prairies. It's called Prairie Diva essences. And we make them, as Dr. Bach made them, by putting flowers into spring water in a crystal bowl, and they sit in the sunlight for at least 8 hours. At that point, it's thought that the vibration and the energies of that plant will transfer into the water, and that then becomes a message, a medium. That water is rebottled into smaller bottles, and then we take those elixirs under our tongue and have intention that goes with it.
Wow. I'm so curious. So are you using the attunement methods to, because I know have a very detailed write-up about all your flower essences and kind of the energies behind it. So when you were creating this, I am imagining lots of dreaming and that kind of attunement. Is that how it unfolded?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Through Dreamwork, Neo-Shamanic work, Attuning, and sometimes with some of the flowers, they just brazenly come through with a message that it's just right there. And again, everyone will get slightly different messages as they attune to the flowers, but the flowers will do slightly different things for individuals.
Wow. Let's talk about your goddess work, because I know this is very dear to your heart.
Yes, all of it is, of course, but in the last 8 years, the goddesses have taken on special significance from me. When I guess it goes back to my very beginning roots of astrology that started when I was about 10. But astrology left just a little bit of a hole for me as I became older, in that as much as I love it, I found it was a little male-oriented and a little bit prescribed. And as I learned to do dream work when I was going through my studies, I love to have the idea that messages come through individually for all of us, and that we can attune to them and become our own oracles. So that came through firstly for me with the dream work. And then with the goddesses, I learned that a little different than astrology, the goddesses will work differently with us. So I attuned to the energy and created some goddess courses and a goddess program in intuitive counseling. After teaching that for 3 years, I wanted to work with the goddesses in even a slightly different way, and then wrote a book on goddesses called Healing the Goddess Wound. And it is a book that stemmed from the courses, and the goddesses came through in such a way, firstly Hera through a dream, telling me that the goddesses have soul messages for each of us, and we each have a soul goddess. So one of the 8 goddesses might be one of your soul goddesses. It could be something different, but each of the other 8 of the Greek goddesses also come through in different phases of our lives as teachers. So when we get married, Hera comes through in a very strong way. And she does, if we know it or not. It just makes it a lot easier to know which goddess is coming through in what lesson. The lessons go a lot easier. The Greeks seem to know this ages ago, and they didn't term it exactly this way, but they use the energies as teachers, and that is still how they come through. Aphrodite comes through very much when we're learning about beauty in our lives and how to make our lives more beautiful, our aesthetics around us. She comes through mostly as we go through the menarche and are learning about attuning to those whom we might love of the same or opposite sex. And that's when she pokes her head and often causes a little mischief as we experiment in sensuality and in learning how to extend our love to another person.
Wow.
Would you like me to just talk about the goddesses just briefly and the messages?
I'd love that.
Okay. Hestia is goddess of the hearth and goddess of our inner space. So she reminds us that having our homes and rhythms in order is extremely important. She doesn't believe in mechanized, fast-paced way of working in the world, but rather asks us to claim our own time and space and to reorganize our lives so that we get to do it according to our rhythms, not according to the rhythms that are dictated from out of there. So it throws that mechanized linear way of masculine timing of work out the window. And that can be really hard for men and women as they bring in the Hestia energy, because all of a sudden they're going to put things like their own home business ahead of doing things on somebody else's schedule. So it means readjusting the life in quite a deep and profound way. Hestia is the barometer of what is passionate for our lives. And so we know that by what is passionate inside of us and how our inner flame goes up and down. It also comes out through the light in our eyes. It's our Shen. And we can monitor other people and ourselves according to Shen, what interests us most. We can't fool ourselves for too long because it starts to dim. And when our light fires, our fires inside us start to go out, they never go out totally, we know we're doing too much duty, too much mechanized work, and not enough of what is nourishing us, or not taking enough time, even with the things that we love, in order for that fire to grow stronger again.
Wow.
So Hestia gives us that. Demeter is the goddess of agriculture and also Mother Nature. And she is attuned to keeping everything like the plants nourished in our lives. She is the great mother that is so important to get in touch with. The piece of us that needs to be treated really well. Like Mother Earth, it's so easy to walk on the Demeter piece of us or on other people because it's so abundant and nurturing, but that too dies off without being appreciated and loved. Demeter loves more than anything her daughter Persephone. Persephone is the part of us that is creativity and new growth. And Persephone is also the energy in us that loves to create potions and nurtures dreams. She's also goddess of the underworld. So all of the places that we go when we're not conscious is often where Persephone travels. So our Persephone energy gets renewed through dreamwork, through creating potions, through creating anything. She is the piece of us that will renew us and remind us what is essentially ours in our lives by attuning to our dreams, and through her then what is relevant for us for creativity comes through, because it's so different for everyone. Yes. Hecate is also the goddess of the underworld. She's the goddess of pathways. When we need to make a big decision in life, it's to Hecate that we come. And when we're stuck, it's because we're ignoring the fact that there's always a sacrifice that's involved. And none of us humans like to do that. You can just look at my garage as a way of knowing that. We don't like to declutter. So we want to hang on to everything in our lives and not take the risk of letting things go. But Hecate will not let us pass without taking some risk. And we never know what's on the other side. So she can be thought of as a harsh goddess, but she reminds us that we need to make decisions in our lives and that our life will not stay new without pruning.
Wow.
So there are more goddesses, and I apologize to the ones that aren't coming to the surface at this very, very second. But they're all, there is one more I need to mention here, two more. Okay. Artemis, the goddess of the natural world, and she is the wild, free, independent goddess that nurtures everything that's wild and free and that will not be tamed within us. So she's not always a what we do, but she's a how we do it. This is for the uncompromising woman that has trouble being oppressed and suppressed in her life. Artemis is speaking the truth, and she is the piece of you that is always telling you what is real. And if you are one of those women, who I suspect you are, Kim, who has never been able to be suppressed and restricted and has always had to tell the truth, you have Artemis on your wings and leading your way and leading you down a path of truth and independence and nature. Athena is the goddess of rational thinking and of bringing our ideas together and putting them out into the world. She's a negotiator. She's a thinker. She's a doer. And Athena brings our ideas out in the world. She encourages us to get education, and she encourages us to be out in the round table with men, bringing our ideas across in a way that works.
Wow. I can see the common thread not only within you, but within the cultures of this goddess work and the deva work as well. It's sort of like a meditation on all the energies and feelings and what it is to be human and a being on this earth.
Right, and how those remarkable archetypal energies run through each of us and give us a lineage to something that's deep and old and profound, but new and expressed only in the way that can be done through each particular soul energy that comes onto the planet now.
Wow. There's a question that is in my head, and when one of the last goddesses that you described is goddess work only for women?
Goddess work is for men and women. There are so many men out there who have so much goddess energy running through them, and these are the men who have not been able to fit into society and not able to oppress themselves. Every man has some of this, but it's men like my husband who has so much Artemis running through him. Women also have so many God energies running through them. It's of course the balance. The reason I focus mainly on goddess energies is because that has not been what's been expressed very much societally up to this point. The deities are mostly male, and women need to see these in their own image to know how profound they are. Men need to find these in themselves to lead that exciting and connected kind of life that they can live and to feel whole and bursting with lively energy that comes through tapping into the goddess. Some men carry more goddess men energy than women.
Yeah. And it is kind of neat that it's ancient Greek, so it's almost like we connected through time and energies to like those people who attuned to that, so it feels, an honor.
Absolutely, and they didn't have books to write, so all of their major stories were done through images of this type, and that's why those images still have so much oomph to them, because the collective conscious has given so much in enhancing them and bringing them forward. And of course there's goddesses and gods from every culture that are so profound. I've just used the 8 in my book, but in other development use and attuned to so many more. Every single culture has known this. And even Christianity, which came with its brilliance, wasn't able to totally oppress this. They could only put other images on top of it. Yeah. The paganism was still there and still came through.
Wow.
The Virgin Mary, after all, is Aphrodite and one of the most profound goddesses that exists. She was incorrigible and kept coming through time after time.
Wow. Yes, so different forms for the similar energy.
Right.
You have some wonderful books and products, Laurie. Will you tell us a bit about that?
Thank you, Kim. Yes. On our website, selfhealdistributing.com and northernstarcollege.com, you'll find information about our courses on the Northern Star College. On Self Heal Distributing, we are able to focus on essential oils, and there are over 100 of them. We also have goddess blends. Sense of Wonder is our essential oil line name. Prairie Diva is our flower essence line name. And there are, as I say, goddess blends, a goddess book, many books that Robert's written on many subjects. Another book, Path of the Divas, on fairies and nature spirits, and also other essence lines such as FES and Healing Herb.
Wow. What have you learned from working with nature in all the ways that you do?
Nature is unstoppable. Nature comes through in every breath we take, every thought we have, everything we excrete, everything we look at that's beautiful and everything that is not. We are nature. God is nature. The goddess is nature. It's all the same. It's just different expressions. Birth, life, the different phases are just different phases.
Wow.
So we cannot not attune. We cannot opt out, because no matter what form we're in, no matter what aspect it is, it's just a different expression.
Wow.
And it is all nature, and caring for it and nurturing for it is inside of us, because it is really caretaking and caring for everything, who we are, what our loved ones are, and where we will evolve.
Wow. Is there anything else on your heart that you'd like to share?
Thank you for this beautiful interview. It's such a privilege to be here with you, a wonderful plant diva unto yourself. And I so much see and acknowledge that in you. And to everyone out there who's interested in this, I again encourage you find this in yourself if you're at all interested.
Thank you, Laurie.